I'm going to try my best not to offend anyone in this audio, but I'm going to keep it very raw and straightforward as I usually do. A lot of you listen to me because I keep it raw. You listen to me because this is what you expect from me. But in this one, I think I'm going to push back just a little bit harder. I'm going to turn up the heat a little bit. I'm going to roast this red pill before I give it to you. That way it's going to be steaming hot on your plate. And you'll see that there's some levels to your professor here in the Academy of Wowman, Leon C., aka Morpheus. So I'm gonna let you know now, I say outrageous things. That's just what I do. If you're too soft, you are a sloth. Can't handle it? Too bad. Go somewhere else. Nobody's forcing you to listen to this lesson here today. It's your own free will. You have that little bitty sausage finger of yours. You can scroll somewhere else. Save yourself some time, because I don't have time for it. I have time for people here who is open-minded and willing to accept reality. I had a question from a friend of mine who, and I don't mind sharing this with you, who's been following me for quite some time on my channel. And he said, man, you are very aggressive. Why are you so aggressive? Why are you telling people these things? You need to calm down. You need to be pacified, basically. You need to soften up. You need to bring down your level, because you're making people think that you are a macho man, that you are this best man, that you can go out there and arm wrestle the Rock and win, that the Rock looks up to you. Now, this is what he said. This is not what I say, and this is not what I have said. This is his interpretation. This is his perception. Now, I know some of you who have been following me, have been listening to me for this time. You know, Morpheus don't talk like that. But I'm willing to answer his question, because that's what I do. So let me give you two situations in my past of why I am the way that I am, so you can a little bit understand why I don't hold back, why I am usually, or let's just be simple. Let's be simple. How about this? Let me do you a favor. Let's just say how I have become alpha. What is the foundation underneath my interpretation of alpha, or what put me in that position? So I'm going to give you two situations, and the second one is going to bridge right into this lesson, because I don't want this to be forever. All right. When I was a kid, I used to get bullied on every now and then. And I was this very skinny, very to myself type of little boy, and I was in church. I'm gonna use the languages that you are used to before I transform them into the words and the lignity that we use here in the Academy, so you'll see the differences. I used to believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ and of the man-made concept of God, that every man had some good in them and they were born of good. and they were born as sinners that needed salvation. And so I always took the passive route. I was the boy who believed that if someone slaps you in one cheek, you turn the other cheek. I was the guy who, you can take my toys and I'll just smile at you and pray for you and don't do anything in return. Yeah, I was like that when I didn't know anything. Okay, I was following the indoctrination. I was following the church. I was raised up in the church. I was this nice boy who thought that maybe it was the demon behind them. Maybe it was the devil that was driving them to do that. You understand? So I always forgave them. And of course, today, sometimes it's not like that. There's different measures that I've discussed before. I'm going to do my best not to veer off into an alternate subject here. I'm going to stay on my bead. And so I really did not have a good time. I tried to understand why this was happening, why this was going on in my life. And no one told me anything about the outside world because I was indoctrinated. The pastors lied to me. My teachers lied to me. I had nothing but female teachers who always softened me up. They were the women who would say, well, you just tell the principal, tuck your tail in, pull your pants up, and just walk down the hallway and just mind your own business. Which really didn't do me any good because I still got my book slammed out of my hands. I still got pushed up against the locker. I still found myself getting picked on and girls looking over me. Oh, yes, I dealt with that too. I was nervous. I was shy. And if there was a girl that I liked, you'd be surprised that I would say I was pretty good at that. As meek as I was, if there was a girl I liked, I would tell her. I didn't know how to. I really didn't know what to say. I just did what came naturally. I would just walk up to them and hold their hand or kiss them. And sometimes they wouldn't know why, but that was my way of expressing to them that I liked them. Sometimes I'd write a love letter with a big heart on it and say, I like you. Do you like me on the bottom? Yes or no? And as nervous as I was and awkward and weird, I would still muster up as much confidence as possible, and as much as it will hurt me, as much as I knew that everybody was staring at me in the classroom or in the lunchroom, or she was around 6 or 7 different girls, I knew that I was going to die walking up to her. I knew it was over for me. I knew that this was going to ruin my reputation, but I didn't care. I didn't care. Yeah, this guy who was picked on, this guy who was rather passive, slap my cheek, I'll just turn around and walk away. And I would do this every so often if I liked the girl, I thought she was cute, make the letter or let her know, or hug her in the middle of the hallway, or come up to her and give her a bright smile or something. And getting back to the incident in the lunchroom, I'd make the letter right there and walk all the way over there to her, no matter how far she was. And here's the other girls around her looking at me and looking straight through me. So you can imagine the feeling: nervous, feeling soft, feeling small. But I managed to do it because I had an escape plan. Usually I wouldn't stay there too long because I couldn't handle the heat with the eyes on me. So I'd give her the letter, then I'd run away. Well, not run particularly, but I would just walk away, but in the plan of walking away as fast as I can from that heated situation. But there are times it worked out well. I didn't know how well it was, because every time I do that, I begin to realize that those same girls that I've let them know that I like them, they end up blushing every time I see them, while they look away, to let me know that they got the memo. They got my message. So I was good with that. I couldn't quite understand why I was this type of guy. But it went on for quite some time, and I had to understand where these girls was coming from. Now you got to remember, this is like my freshman year in high school, coming out of middle school. So the girls was just growing up. I'm just growing up. We don't know anything. I'm just trying to figure out myself, trying to see where I fit in an environment. But I knew I loved women. I knew that that's what I wanted. I knew that I was not going to let a pretty little thing get away from me, one way or the other. And of course, you can equate that how I understand how code approaching is and how today is operated and how it's continuously dysfunctional as to they're still expecting men to just do that. But yet they're not willing to do it themselves. They're not willing to make that same sacrifice, which is a totally different story that we're not going to talk about right here. And so I give appreciation. There are several people who was a good role model for me, and I'll never forget them. And it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was Sylvester Stallone. And then there was the Beastmaster. Then there was the Warrior, Princess Zenith. Then of course you have movies of Superman and Batman. But the one who stood out the most was Conan because of his heavy behavior and zero tolerance mentality on a general basis. And I watched both versions of him, the Destroyer and Conan the Barbarian. And it came to me in speckles while I was in school, just sitting there watching. I didn't watch girly shows and Pokemon and Blue's Clues and The Comfy Couch, Doug's World, right? SpongeBob and Bart Simpson. They came around every now and then, maybe on a Sunday morning or a Sunday night, but not as much as when the movies came on. Tough, manly movies, men stuff. So, believe it or not, a day came where we was at a beach one day with my auntie. She decided to take us out and go to the beach. And I needed some time away. And there happened to be a group of other teenage kids who were particularly unruly, and they were more equipped of the world than I was. I was coddled. I was overly nurtured by the indoctrination and by lies. I wasn't able to do and go everywhere that I needed to go. And even if I did, I was so heavily indoctrinated with the church and being soft and weak and God loves the whole world and everybody respects God idea that it was a conflict. I didn't know that there was people who were just truly mean and evil. And so at the beach, a couple of the guys thought it was funny to pick on me and a couple of my family members that were there because they were like bullies and they love talking about people. There's a cruelty to teenagers and kids that some adults can carry with them when they grow older. You can tell. I know these type of adults who've never grew up. It's a certain cruelty of talking about a person or putting them down and making them feel bad, making them feel like less than human that kids can do accidentally, but as adults, they do it on purpose. This is why I have a zero tolerance policy. This is why I deal with people at the measure that I do, because people can be very cruel and cold-hearted against the next man or person, and they know they're being cruel. They know they're wrong. They know what they're doing to that person, and they do it on purpose. And so one of the teenage boys, who was one of the tallest and the biggest ones, you can imagine it was almost like a Back to the Future type of thing with Michael J. Fox and Butthead, as they call that guy. And he thought it was funny to try to drown me, to try to put my face in the water. And you would ask, how come you didn't fight back, and how come you didn't do this and that? And well, I didn't want. How can I put it? I knew there was something inside me I didn't want to. I didn't want to let go. I didn't want to. I did not want to unchain this thing inside me. Anyhow, so they tried to basically drown me, and thought it was funny. Thought it was funny that I was struggling trying to get my air, my breath, hair all wet, cold water, cold, dirty water too. Thought it was cute. Thought it was really funny. And in my mind at the time, seeing that my life was flashing before me, I immediately start having to flashback on everything that I have experienced. Having you flashback of your past life and things that you haven't finished, and things you want to continue doing. Right? Here I am, a young man just trying to figure out life, and I had to deal with the rubbish of society. I had to suffer under parents' lack of control of their kids. This is why I speak the way I speak, and I'm always getting to the root of the problem, because I've been there and suffered the conditions of parents who overbaby their kids. They don't watch them. They let them listen to heavy rap music with heavy profanity. They let these kids stay at home and pretend as if they are an adult and take on adult responsibilities while the parents are at work, just because they're 17, 16, and 15. So this is a good example of what happens when a certain group, certain parents in certain parts of the town or city is mindless to the coincidences and to the consequences of their bad behavior. And it's only worse today. What I'm experiencing right now, the story, is practically every day, and you don't know that this is happening. There are girls who are getting beat up in the school bathrooms, and you won't know about it till later. There are girls around the age 14, 15, 16 who is getting beat up, getting touched on, getting hurt by her own female kind in the bathroom of the high schools, or sometimes the middle schools. And they experiment in there, and you don't know anything about it. And the daughter, or sometimes the son, would never tell you anything about it, because they're too embarrassed that another girl did that to them. Because we are smart parents today. We are very, very endowed in understanding the teenage mind. We understand the smartphone real easy, but we don't understand the chemistry or our own humanity, which is why I nip it in the bud. And so what have helped me was my memory of Conan the Barbarian, when he didn't let anybody punk him around. And yeah, I thought about Rocky, when he was running up the stairs, and when he was going against Apollo and he was fighting in the ring, but he didn't want to go down. I thought about Bruce Lee when he was talking about be calm and be like water, be like water. Let it come to you and use it as it comes to you. And I thought about when Conan was he was going against the thoughts of doom, and when the thoughts of doom was coming to him, he was ready to take him on when he pulled out his sword. Conan the Barbarian, or you could say Arnold Schwarzenegger at that time, got into a stance and practically said, "Come on, I'm ready for you." And something snapped inside me. I think the lid off I'm not trying to be big headed. I'm not even going to even go there. The lid off of the savage was broken. The devil was let loose. The devil was freed from the pits of being slapped around and being punked on, being kicked, being ostracized, talked about, all the girls looking over me and laughing at me and picking on my cheap clothes, my cheap shoes. You know, being this little skinny little Spider-Man dude with big, thick glasses on, who everybody used as a comical prop. So the moment I caught air from my head being pushed down into that river, parents nowhere to be found, up there doing their own dumb, ignorant things, not paying attention to their own creations. I let loose. That was it. That was it. Just thinking about it now, it's a horrible feeling. I mean, it's telling you this it just brings back the time of how I felt at the time. And it makes me angry just thinking about it. And I feel like I'm in that moment and the water's choking me. The water's choking me. And the vision that was in my mind was Arnold Schwarzenegger, the barbarian, when he had his hat on and the horns, he had the horn hat on his head and he was swinging his sword. I got up and wailed at them. I got up and took them down, and it was like 4 or 5 of them out there. They couldn't run. My whole plan at that time was to make sure that they was not going to leave that spot, okay, with anything intact. Because my life was on the line. I wanted them to know how I felt in that moment when my life was flashing before my face. And when the last guy tried to run, because they realized at that moment they messed with somebody who was immediately crazy and out of his mind. Immediately realizing that they broke the chains to a savage monster. Running did not save him. And I was a good track and field runner in the day. I was skinny enough for it and small enough for it as well. I was good at running. He wasn't going nowhere. And by the time the parents came out of the bushes doing Lord knows what with their lackadaisical, backwards walking, upside down, retarded lifestyle, they found me over the last boy, in fact, with him not moving. And I'm still wailing at him. No, he was not wiped from the face of the planet. He was knocked out. And I wasn't going to stop. The story goes as my parents couldn't find their parents anywhere because their parents was so far upshore somewhere in their lackadaisical mind. And then they are sitting there trying to figure out what happened. And when I explained the story to them, and the guy sitting there with more bruises and limping and tore up, all I could do was be truthful with my father and tell him that they were trying to hurt me in the worst of ways. But to end this story, there's extra here and there. I promised myself that I would never, ever let that happen again. That savage monster was never chained again, because it only grew 1 year at a time. It kept growing and perfected into a point of self-control, to the point where, let's just say, I was feared. I didn't care after that. I was not going to be anybody's punk at all. And let's fast forward this a few years into grade school, okay, or into high school. And now this is going to blend into the studies here as we're going to go forward. In my freshman year of high school, and I started to work out, go to the gym. The beast was leased. It was released. There was nothing to do after that. All I could do was maintain him at all times and keep my eyes on this thing. And so that's when I began my martial arts and learning how to meditate and breathe and tame myself. In the classroom, it was a arts class. No, it was a mathematical class. I can never forget. It was a math class. And there was this kid. It was this white kid who reminded me of myself. And he had black glasses. I didn't have black glasses, but he did. He had black glasses on. He was a quiet white kid too, minding his own business. He was always studious in the class, right? He didn't talk to anybody. He was standoffish, almost like myself. He didn't mess with nobody. And there was this big black guy in the room because he was the biggest one. Apparently he was motivated by his neglectful parents. Apparently he thought that with his spoiled life, because he can practically get away with everything, that everything was underneath his thumb because he was the biggest one in the classroom, right? And so he's talking about people, walking around, shoving people, and look at you, little man, you so small, look at you. You bleep, 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 while the teacher's not listening, cursing at people, right? You blank face, look at you, you stink like shh, shh. And I'm uncomfortable here because all I could envision is this bully trying to dunk my head in the water again. And so I seen that black guy walk over to the white guy who was minded his own business, writing with his number 2 pencil. I can never forget. And I overheard him talking about, "What you doing over here for, Wise? Why you so quiet? You don't know how to speak? Where's your mama at? Why you want to talk? You want some drama? You want some drama, don't you?" And you probably thinking that I'm making this up. I told you, kids can be very, very cruel, but they don't know they're cruel. And they get away with it because what happens is, psychologically, there's something going on at home. Either the mom is getting beat up by the dad, or the dad is getting beat up by the mom, and the mom is protecting the child from the dad chastising or being the man of the home to put his own son or even daughter in line. And so it allows the kid to feel like there is no law or way, or what do you call that? There is no behavior too far or too bad that can't be caught up to any type of result or consequences. And so when the black guy turned around and started paying attention to his own business, I went over there and sat next to the white guy, and I said, "Are you okay? What was he saying to you?" And the white guy looked at me. Well, he's a boy, of course. He said, "I don't know what that dude's problem is, but he keeps picking on me for some reason. I'm minding my own business. What is it that he want? He keeps yelling in my face that, do I want some drama? I wish he'd just leave me alone. What is his problem?" I'm like, okay, I get it. I said, okay, I'm going to keep my eyes on this. I get back over there, sit down at my desk, keep things cool, right? This is in a classroom. Can't be unruly. Even though it was a different time than what we have today. We didn't have a lot of school police. We knew how to handle our business. I would tell you this. The days before today, men were men. And I can be honest with you with that. And I'm not even going to go down to the history. I'm not going to go down and tell you everything that used to happen in schools in the public arena. But I'll tell you this. We dealt with our own problems. Okay. We would fight. We'd duke it out. And then we'll go back to school the next day. Everybody was good. No one left the school on a stretcher. No one left the school in an ambulance. Unless there was an accident somewhere and somebody just got sick or fell down the stairs. There was no police officers in our schools. As aggressive as it was, there was no police officers because we didn't bring anything lethal to school. It wasn't about, I am going to eliminate you and your family idea. It wasn't oh, you're picking on me, so I'm going to go into my dad's shed. It was never like that. We never needed to pick up or even thought of picking up anything that could hurt someone. We did things naturally. It was fist to fist, man to man. You talk smack, you get smacked. Cry about it, deal with it, come to school the next day with a black eye, so that way you'll never do it again. Are you getting what I'm saying? Today, it's a totally different story. We got more boys and children out there where they need someone to watch over them. They need a law enforcer. They need people that's going to be there because it's children who have created children and born them and put them in the school system, public, private, or otherwise, and they don't know how to get along with each other because it's a depiction of how degraded, how much of a de-evolved species the human have become today because of one lackadaisical, weak and pathetic parent's decision. And here we are. Now you can't go to school without a metal detector because we don't know how to be men and grow up and act like we got some good sense. No matter how savage I was, no matter how much of a beast I was when it came to fighting and at zero tolerance and taking care of my own, never did I ever think of taking another person's life. If I lost, I lost. I would get up, brush my knees off, wash off my face and say, well, maybe I need to practice on my uppercut. Maybe I need to start dodging from now on. Maybe I need to shut my mouth. I never needed to. It was other people who needed to shut their mouth. I was the one who actually shut it for them. Okay. But I was like, maybe I need to do a neo practice and learn how to bend backwards and dodge their wide fist to my face. It was never, I need to get back at you, revenge, right? Parents are scared. They don't want to bring their child to school, domestic. It was never like that. Never. Until this generation we're in today. You can't even sit there and have an argument over whose number 2 pencil is the sharpest without someone trying to hurt the next person over their own simple opinion. Non-violently. But the time came where the guy, yes, the boy turned around again, and I can hear him picking on the white guy again. And, oh man, you want some beef, don't you? You want some beef? You want some drama? I know you ain't gonna do nothing. You're a punk. Just say your family probably punk too. You ain't gonna do nothing. Grabbed a scrap piece of paper that the white boy was drawing on or writing on, and practically ripped it up in his face. I said, you know what? I had enough. I had enough of this. So I get up, I walk over there, right? I sit right next to the white guy. Because at this time, the white boy, at this time, I realized his face is red. His face is red now. When a white guy's face gets red, you have a problem. Because their melanin and their skin tone is different than a black person's or Mexicans or someone else. You understand? It's different. So when their face is red, they are emotional, or they don't like what you're doing, or they're shy. Something's going on that you need to pay attention to. Or he's completely upset. And the boy wasn't doing anything, but his face is red as he's smiling. I said, you know what? This is stupid. So I sat next to him. I said, you okay? And he turned and looked at me, but he put his head back down because he didn't want to say anything because, you know, that bully was sitting right there in his face. I took the balled up piece of paper from that black guy's hand and snatched it from him. I said, look, I said, if you want to put your hands on him, put your hands on me first. Do me like that. Do me like that. I want some drama. Give it to me. Give me some drama. The guy was like, oh, you want some drama? You want some drama, huh? I said, yes, I do. Give it to me. I'm ready. Here's my plate right here. Slam my hand on the desk. Come on. Go ahead and swing first. I want you to. Go ahead. You put your hands on him. I want you to get in his face one more time. And I'm going to, I can't say this on YouTube. Don't do it. Right? Basically, I'm going to eat you alive. But he said, man, are you on some drama? Okay. Okay. I didn't flinch. I'm looking at him. I didn't move. I'm just waiting for him. I didn't say a word, just looking straight at him like I tell you now. In my audio, when I said I'm looking straight at you, I was looking at him the same way. I'm just looking at him, not moving. Hands is almost folded on the desk. Just waiting. Like, okay, where's my drama? He inched forward a little bit, turned right back around on his desk. Never heard anything else from him. As a matter of fact, when he turned around, he shut his mouth. There was nothing else. Nothing else. So I turned to my white friend over there. Now he's my best friend. Now I'm going to keep my eyes on him, make sure that this don't ever happen again. I said, listen, if you ever have a problem, you know what? I'm right over there. You know, I'm so-and-so. Just, you know my name. All right. You let me know what's up. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. He nodded his head, went back to his work. The whole time, every time we had to go to that classroom, the black guy never even came near him. He knew I was there. I wasn't playing. Never even thought of turning around in his seat again to get out of line, because he don't get that at home. He didn't get that with his mommy. No one told him that that was wrong for him to do, to stop picking on people. See, when you getting beat up at home, when something's wrong going with you at home, when you see domestic violence at home, when you're having a bad problem with your parent or your mom, or you getting your butt beat at home, you try to go to school and do the same thing to somebody else. Is somebody listening to me? Hello. When you are getting abused at home and you are struggling and you need to find your own identity, when you go to school, you'll try to do that to somebody else, because your life and your family at home is dysfunctional. So you would definitely go to school and be chaotic and cause some dysfunctional there with innocent kids. Not on my watch. So at this point, and I'm going to take it to the next measure of our conversation here. I'm going to call it a conversation. Either you love me or you hate me. I don't care, because you don't know what I've been through. Maybe you know a little bit more now, but you don't know what I've been through. You don't know how I have become who I am today. You don't know my struggles. Therefore, we're going to move forward to the other measures of this lesson. And you see the title is called Do It Yourself for Dummies. And you're going to begin to understand what this title means. I'm going to blow you away for a moment here, and I want you to brace yourself. I already gave you my disclaimer in the beginning. If you soft, leave. This is not for the immature. God is for poor people. Mind blowing, isn't it? You don't like Morpheus now. Too bad. God is for poor people. I watched a man, and I used to follow some people just by studies and reading them, right? And I watched a man who never stood foot in a church. He was a very decent, wealthy man. And he lived his life. He had a horse ranch. And on his horse ranch, he had a couple of animals out there. And he used to have his special Rolls Royce that was in one of his special barns as well. It's one of the older Rolls Royce, the one that's all gray. You can imagine it gray with the bubble headlights. Because he was an older gentleman. And he would always be a jokester. He would crack jokes all the time with the people that he was around. So he was a bubbly type of rich guy. Never stingy. He donated wherever he could. Sometimes he would deliver free milk to families that needed milk for their children. Okay? And he didn't mind making donations here and there with his wealth, but nobody knew it came from him. But he was a typical man. When it came time to the concept of God, devil, heaven, and earth, he would always joke and say, well, that's just an imaginary dream, and chuckle. That's just an imaginary dream, son. I'm just living my life. That's what he say. It's just imaginary dream, son. I'm just living my life. Whenever you get to that point where you're talking about hell and heaven and God. If you ask him if he ever prayed, he probably would say something like, what's prayer? I just go and do it. What's prayer? What's prayer? So he lived fulfilled. He lived an awesome life, actually. Traveled around the world. Came from old money. Old money. The boats and the cars aren't like what we have today, but the luxury was still the same. And the story goes as his last days here on earth, a person asked him, say, hey, do you have anything you want to, anything to write in your will, and you want your family members here? Is there anything that you want to do? Because it's just you're here, and it don't look like you're going to get any better, sir. And it was an epical moment. It was a legendary expression that or you can say a statement that he said. He said, no, because I've lived my life I lived my life fulfilled. I lived my life fulfilled. I have no regrets. I did what I wanted to do. I lived my life. And I lived my life under no one else's subjection. That's what really kicked me in the butt there when he said that. Under no one else's subjection. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, as a teenager, I want to be like this guy. This guy is my hero. This guy is my hero. I think I might add that onto my savage list. So I'm going to add that underneath my, under my Conan the Barbarian belt. Not only am I going to be a savage, not only am I not going to let anybody push me around and call me a punk and take advantage of me, I'm not going to be subjected by anybody or anything either. I love this guy right here. I love this guy. He left a legend that will not die. He left a legend that I will keep with me. I'll keep his memory alive. Then there was another guy. This guy was a minister. And he was always preaching in this rickety church it was before the 1990s, but it was, I'm going to say it was around the 1990s, 1989, so forth, so on. And he's no longer with us either. He was gone in 95, 96, something like that. But he too did the same thing. He tried to focus on life, but his idea was the church. His idea was God being the savior of people. Well, you know, the normal story. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son story, not history story. Some of you are fidgety. I don't care. And he never really had an upstanding life. His life was really, he was struggling all the time. Finances wasn't well. He could never keep a piece of land. Never really had a steady wife either. And everything that came his way, he would always say, well, it's by the mercies of God that I am here. It's by the salvation. It's by the salvation of God that I'm able to put food on my table. I'm able to eat. Or when he gets up in the morning and he gets ready to go somewhere, he's like, well, at least I got a place to go and work. At least I got a car to get to that place. At least I'm breathing. At least I have my air. This is him, right? And all the while, he's, again, struggling. He's not as wealthy as the other guy I was just telling you about. He's just a regular Joe, paying his bills month to month. But yet he was always giddy. What made him happy was his hope in God. Y'all really need to pay attention to what I'm saying. What made him happy was his hope and faith and belief in God. That's it. Every day he was faithful. Every day he was gratified that he had at least another day to live, to function. But yet he would always barely make his end meet. Everyone else was well off, working their jobs, getting the money that they needed, driving more fancier, cleaner cars than him, but he would always be satisfied with the junk car. But yet he had his Bible in his passenger seat. He had that Bible in the passenger seat. And if you talk to him about life and death and God, of course, he'll talk to you about an hour and a half. Talk your ears off. Make you feel good. Make you think that God's standing there right next to you. You can shake his hands and say, hallelujah. I'll say, hello, what? Anyway. So there came a day where reality hit home. It's actually for two type of guys. I'm not even going to get into another story because I'm not going to be too aggressive in this one. I'm going to try to take it easy because I want you to learn something. I'm going to try not to give you my energy in this one. The day I had the chance to meet him from an arrangement, while he was spitting scriptures and proverbs and chronicles, my goodness, Timothy's. And I didn't know too much about the world myself, but I was willing to listen. At that time, it was us and the family and other church members, because he decided to have a, I don't know what they call it, but it's a communion or some type of church trip. Sometimes we would rent out a park or something like that. Sometimes we'd go out of town for a convention, that sort of thing. But this one was closer to his home. There was another guy he knew of that had a pretty decent amount of space in the back of his house, because he like had a piece of farm or something like that out there, but it was pretty vast. I can only remember it in speckles, so I can't be completely accurate as I want to be. But I know it was an open place. I mean, it wasn't any type of convention center or building. It was a regular old house. And I heard him mumble something under his voice as we began to walk, and he looked at all the grass, he looked at all the land, he looked at the house, and he seen how big it was, and I recall him saying, because I was walking next to him, I told you I'm a kid who wanted to learn. I'm that type of guy who lived with a paper and pencil, and I kept it there because I wanted to see what's going on. I wanted to know, what is this world all about? Where am I failing at? Where can I climb to get better? And he stops and he puts his hands on his hips on his church suit. And he's like looking around. He said, man, I wish I had some money. Because he's looking at the land now. Man, I wish I had some money. I'm tired of struggling. I'm tired of going through what I'm going through. And to me, it started contradicting what he talked about. Vanities of the world. Gold is corruptible, that money is the root of all evil, that they want to teach you and indoctrinate you about. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if money's the root of all evil, why do you want money? It may take money to buy this. It may take money to buy. What is he talking about? He wants some money. He needs money. And so the struggle continued, where he did not live as long as that guy who didn't stand there with a crucifix around his throat and a Bible under his arm. That guy passed away at 89 years old. 89, which is a typical age and a fair amount of time. That guy, who was a minister, passed away at the age of 56. You say, why such a large gap of time? Well, he was eating wrong. He was struggling. He was grateful for the minimum and the stress that he had to go through, the hope that he was holding on to, and the so-called faith that everything was going to be all right because God took care of it all. God took care of it all. Did not help him with being able to live his life. As a matter of fact, when you really, really think about it technically, you're not really living your life. You are hoping to live your life. You're waiting to live. While you're waiting to live, other people are driving Mustangs next to you and looking at you with your little bitty rusted up car. Now, while you're sitting here hoping for some miracle that some Superman's going to swoop out of the sky and help you out of your conditions, there's others who have a yacht. There's others who don't need to be in your little bitty apartment, in your little bitty house of faith and dreams. They can go to their condo somewhere or their beachfront house. Some people don't need their little bitty 9-to-5 job because they got their business, or they have another job somewhere else, or they have another building or a different source of income where they don't have to be subjectified by the lowest hanging denominator in the world, which is self-neglect. And the more I studied it as I matured, Neo, as time have gone on to my grade school, high school, college, extra arts, learning martial arts, physical, blah, 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 there was a pattern of the certain groups of people who are always hitting the Bible real hard. And those who are hitting it real hard and they are at the top, listen, they got money now. They have mega churches. This guy didn't have a mega church, but I can imagine that once upon a time, this was the normal for people who are standing there and ministering and preaching about an invincible, some of y'all being really hit by this Savior. Told you if you can't handle it, go somewhere else. And so I can imagine they came up with a program to make the money that they wanted. They came up with an idea to prevent themselves from being like this other minister who just lived on hopes and dreams. They wanted to make it a reality by giving you a different indoctrination from the books that they give to you. Therefore, they can have that land. Therefore, they can have a private yacht. Therefore, they can have a cleaner car. Now they're driving the Mustangs and you're not. Therefore, they can get a supported foundation that will provide a lucrative flow into their life, whereas they don't have to stand there and say, oh, I wish I had this big house. Now they can have a big house by the way that they are giving you the story. So if you read the books from the beginning of the end and you read it like it's a book, you will realize you can't even teach that to your kids in school, because the teacher will correct you from the beginning of Genesis to the end of Revelations, because it will not make sense. It will not make sense. If you break it down to the algorithm, if you break it down to really with physics, you break it down to your regular nature today, you're not teaching anything. You are brainwashing the children. But how this is made to avoid such obvious ploy into your life is called emotions. It's called twisting up the words, and there are systems to back up the systems because they made money from the system. So it's a system to provide money for the system that provides money for the person who's willing to be an indoctrinator, Agent Smith, to recruit other Agent Smiths into the programming. So therefore, the way that the Bible is read to you today is not the same way as that minister would have read it to you so many years ago, perhaps back in 1990, 1995, and before that time. Because before that time, they were walking around with holes in their shoes and with the same old suit that they've been wearing for the whole month, while they were living off of hope and faith, off of something that they knew wasn't real. They knew was fake. They knew was an indoctrination, and they knew it was only holding on for a miracle, that they themselves are the miracle, but they need to reach outside of themselves. If you ever need to reach outside of yourself, then you're not ready. You're not ready to accept the miracle until you understand that you're the miracle. I'm gonna put that here for some of you. If you are looking for God, hold on. If you are looking for God, you will never find God anywhere until you find God inside yourself. Did I make that clear for you? Stop looking for a miracle and don't be expecting a miracle until you yourself become the miracle. Either yourself or you become a miracle for someone else. Then you will be able to experience the miracle in real life. I can't make it more simple than that, but they knew it at that time. They knew that you would need to be a growing, advancing human, and you will eventually debunk the stories should the whole program be to make you an advanced race. Should the Bible be read the right way? Should you realize it's just a story and an idea, not the manual of human control? But now that we know that it's the manual of human control, we still go by it anyway. And that's just for the low-figured individual who is looking for hope outside of themselves. Because if you are looking for something to be done for you, you are looking for hope. The reason why I say God is for poor people is because generally you can't do for yourself. See, the minister has to sit down on his knees and pray for a boat. He has to pray for a boat. He has to pray for it. He has to say, and I'm being funny here, "Oh God Almighty, you know I am a diligent saint of yours. You know that I love you and I love people of the nation. You know that I've been diligent for a long time and I've been suffering for a long time and I'm just waiting, Lord, for you to come and give me this boat. I don't know who it is and where it is. You said if I ask in your name, it will be delivered. You said if I pray that you will give, ask and you will receive. You said that you will do it. Because Lord, I'm here. I'm here. You see me. I'm here. Right? I'm only being honest. I told you, if you can't handle it, go somewhere else. This is not for you if you're sensitive. I'm just telling you, if you talk it on to here and you are a believer, all right, you are stepping into a zone that you don't belong. And I mean, think about it. That's real. If you are a person who's like, well, I love my religion. I know what they're talking about. I believe in the pastor. I believe in gesturing God. You know what? Why are you, listen. Why are you here? Go toggle on to someone else's YouTube channel. Leave Leoncy, aka Morpheus, alone. This channel is for those who are willing and ready to be open-minded. That's your disclaimer. Boo, go somewhere else. You got it? I'm gonna say it real nicely. Do you got it? Huh? You got it? Did you hear me clearly? Okay. But the guy who has not the need to even get on his knees to ask for a golden spoon, let me tell you what he did. Let me tell you what he did. Okay? Let me tell you what he did versus the minister who you love so much, who you willing to give like $2 to because you can't give $2 to yourself or your own children. Okay? What he did was his mommy and daddy. Here we go. Here is your hot red peel. It's ready for you now. I just pulled it out of the oven, and take your time because it's going to burn your mouth. As long as you keep your mouth shut, you'll be okay. His mommy and daddy said, you know what? I'm not going to pray about it. Just like me. Okay. But I talk about myself. I'm not going to pray about it. I'm going to be about it. I am looking to do something for my family. I see this great grandchild, and it's going to take me probably a couple of generations, or maybe 30 years if I really put my back into it. If I really get out there and hustle for real, I'm going to be able to create a future for my for my child, or my great child, or my great child. But you know what? I'm going to make sure that they are going to have what they need, where they don't have to ask for anything or be at the mercy of someone else's table. I don't want my children to pray for crumbs that have fallen from the master's table. I want them to have the food on the table. I don't want my children with hand-me-down clothes. I don't want my children to be sitting there suffering like I am. I don't want my children to be suffering others under someone else telling them how to live, how to eat, how to dress, all because they need to be obedient to have some money on their table so they can provide food for my great grandchildren. So I'm going to make the sacrifice today. I'm going to till the grass. I am going to plant the seeds. I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not going to be done till 9 o'clock at night. Because I am going to make sure that my child don't need to be down on their knees praying for some sky daddy for help. I'm helping them right now because survey said I am God. So I'm going to do it. Do you understand? Therefore, year after year, franchise after franchise, business proposition after business proposition, the grandparents kept hustling. The parents picked up the tab from their great grandparents or their parents and started taking on the business from there, started taking on the idea from there. They started teaching their children, hey, you know what? Be a boss one of these days. Hey, I want you not to be a footstool for someone. Hey, don't be like little bitty Morpheus and let somebody try to drown you and put your face in the river until you pass away. Hey, don't be this moron who's going to turn one cheek and turn the other cheek just because the indoctrinated book told you to be a blue pill, soft, moist angel cake. Don't you sit there and let them slap your other cheek. You tell them, okay, you got me one time. You slapped me one time. I wish you would slap me. You slap me again. There is going to be drastic results. It's not going to be the same the first time. You hit me one time. You knocked me down one time. Okay, you got away with it. My knees hurt. Okay, yeah, my nose is bleeding. All right, okay, you got me. All right, I'll give you that. I'll walk away. I can take a loss. Okay, I lost. But I am guaranteeing you today, you will not put your hands on me again. It's not going to happen again. Next time, be sure you better be ready because it's not going to be a victory for you. So the grandparents, the mothers, fathers continue to go out there and work hard, till the grass, get the yield, cut the corn, cut the sugar vines, pull the grapes, pulled whatever that they could because they knew one day there was going to be just like the other guy, 89 years old and not here. So therefore, the prophecy of a miracle, the prophecy of salvation, the prophecy of a so-called God will be passed on from that person to the next, not by a mythical prayer, not by being on their knees, but by doing something about it. So therefore, the child benefits not needing to sit there in front of the church or your church steps needing a prayer. If they want something, they can go get it because it was provided for them from someone who decided to what, my classroom, to what? Hello, I don't hear you. Now you can open up your mouth without it burning you. To be a miracle. To be a miracle. Because the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. But if you are a low-hanging fruit individual, you live your life haphazard. I want to have fun. I want to have my frat parties, my seniority party. I want to spend up all the money now. Oh, you know what? Oh, my grandparent left me with a inheritance. I got like $22 million and I never had to work for it. But you know what? I'm going to burn it up. I'm going to buy mansions. I'm going to buy these big houses. I'm going to buy some land. I'm going to buy all kind of stuff. And I am not going to save anything for my great grandchild. I'm going to live it up right now. I'm not going to be the miracle. Forget it. I'm going to make him work hard for his stuff. I'm going to make him suffer and think that there's some God in the sky that he has to be merciful to in order to eat. And you call yourself a parent and you love your child that much. You benefit to benefit your child. You work to work for your child. You get your proceeds to give that proceed to your child. If you're not willing to pass on the legacy of the blessing or the miracle, don't have your child. As a matter of fact, don't have yourself. Give it away. You don't need it. You don't need it. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I tell you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and I'm going to purchase the La Ferrari. I'm going to get the La Ferrari and I'm barely going to drive it. I'm barely going to drive it. I'm going to drive it like once a year. Once a year, because I have that much stupid money to do that with. When I can take that and invest it in something else that's going to do well for my child or for their child or for that child or for the future child or for every other child that I know of or someone else besides my mindless self who wants to sit here and harbor practically a useless machine. I would be the most dumbest donkey, and I would listen. I would send you all pamphlets and notes, and I will invite you to my house to flog me with the thickest paper or extension cord if I ever do something as stupid as that. That La Ferrari is not for me. It's for other people. If I'm not going to use it, if I am not going to, this ain't going to be my daily driver. I'm gonna keep it in my garage and I'm just going to drive it like once a year. Please come over. Listen, I will leave the door unlocked. Come over to my house, roll up a piece of paper and smack me in my face until I wake up. Do you understand? Because I can liquidate that La Ferrari for a child somewhere in need. You understand? That needs to be liquidated to make somebody's dream come true. You need to understand something about Morpheus. No, I'm not just a savage for myself, according to the situation. I'm a savage for other people. I'm a savage for children. I'm a savage for someone else's dream, not only myself. Why would I not get glory or the benefit or a smile on my face to see somebody else living like they should? I had to throw that out there. I just had to throw that out there because how is it? And it's not, listen, the way that we are needing wealth, it's not just financially, it's in our head. It's the way that I'm doing it right now. It's knowledge. It's understanding how indoctrinated and backwards thinking that we are. And it starts right there because you can hit the lottery tomorrow and you will be broke the day after. You will be just like that lady that hit, I think it was like $368 million, brought a whole acre. Well, it wasn't an acre. It was like several thousand acres, actually, in a huge mansion just for her and a couple of her kids to live in. Well, that could have fed 3 cities 3 times over. How selfish could I be? There's no way. There is no way. And then guess what? Guess what the poor people do? Guess what poor people do? This is why you have people telling you exactly what time of day it is. You got famous actors, you got famous people who made their riches who are telling you what the 1% of people do. And we're walking around like a bunch of bumblebee automatons, don't know a daggone thing, but we got doctrinations. We got what do you call it? We got badges in our back pocket. You know, we got degrees. What type of degrees you got? What type of degrees you got? The degrees in stupidity? Really? The whole idea is to make sure that you have long vision because you're not going to be here forever. So why would you not want to till the grass, get yield from it? Because you are looking out for the future generation, not to live a push button, iPhone, dumb, weak, passive and sensitive society, but to be an advanced human race. You can't do that with the weakened push button lifestyle of the society we have today. It will make you lazy and sensitive to all sorts of forms of life instead of dealing with it manually and by analog. Do you not understand that? So they do, you know what? We're going to make the next Apple phone. We're going to come up with a computer that's going to be able to walk from. Next thing you know, listen, next thing you know, they're going to come out with this. They already got it. I mean, they already have it. It's already done. It's done. Morpheus is on point. It's already done. Go ahead. It's done. It's a wrap. That's what they say. It's a wrap. They already have a hoverboard for you to walk for you. They already got it. Just plug it up in the water, in the water. Plug it up in the wall. Take your 350-pound self who don't know how to eat right or live right onto this soon to be broken hoverboard and let it walk for you, because you can't walk yourself. And it's going on in the malls. And it's for the corporate people. It's for those who are, security officers. You go down somewhere in the city, some podunk area, like I think somewhere in Indianapolis or something like that. Go down to the Circle Center Mall. Watch them walk around hovering on these hoverboards. I'd be like, dude, before you, I'm like, are you scared to walk? Is walking too hard for you? Is it too much for you to be human today? Is it too much? Is it too much to appreciate nature? Is it too much to be natural? Is it too much to take a key and put it into the ignition and turn it, or it's too hard for you? You got to push a button. Is it too hard for you to wait to get home, turn on a thermostat till it gets to its temperature in order for you to be, you got to have it on your phone too. Is it too hard for you to drive down there to the grocery store and pick up your groceries like a normal human being? Is it too hard for you? It's too hard for you. Because I'm going to tell you what happens. And let me give you this punchline, and this may open up your eyes a little bit. Draw a line in your mind, and it's going to look like the peace sign, but without the two lines on the side. You have one side, you will have medications and pills that are given to you from doctors and other the pharmaceuticals, whether the pills are good or bad. On the other side is you. It's your human nature. It's your organic sense of being. And I'm kind of telling on myself here because some of this is in the book 2020 America Rise or Fall Hard. But I'm probably a little bit more details in there. But the more you don't do for yourself, the more you are sitting there on your chair and whatever's whatever. Here's the dodo bird. Da, 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 da. Just push the button. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, I can do it. My hand is too heavy. My natural God-given hand is too hard to lift up, so I'm going to let a computer do it for me. Lifestyle. What happens is the medications that are given to you and, vitamin B, vitamin A, vitamin C, right? Vitamin K, vitamin E, B12, B6, proteins, stimulants, healthy stimulants, that is, right? Dopamine, testosterone, serotonin, all of that your body can actually generate naturally. Some of y'all don't get it. Maybe because some of y'all don't really belong here on earth, and I can understand you can't generate it, nor do you have a pineal gland, okay? Or an instincts or a third eye. I can understand. If that's you, too bad. I can't speak for you. But naturally and generally, you already have these protective, body supporting, immunity supporting, hair supporting, biotin, that is, okay? Melatonin to help you sleep and to rest. Serotonin. Some of you already have it in your body. It can produce it itself if you are physically active like you are supposed to be. If you are taking care of yourself, if you are jogging, if you are eating right, if you are dealing with the right companion in your life, it will be able to do it itself. You can live a healthier life without putting a pill in your mouth, if it's not other than a red pill. But if you can live your life as you're supposed to be, or as you should, concerning your genetics or your phylum or the type of person you are or what type of historical culture that you come from or the history of your culture or where your genetics is actually derived from. The whole thing. If you understand how it works, you stay with that. Your body will produce everything that you need. So the more you have a push button, I'm going to depend on Agent Smith's machine lifestyle. Guess what happens to that line that's in the middle? That means your organic flesh, that the natural you start disappearing on the left side, and you start depending even more on the right side, which is the medications and other simulated, made up, pilfered, pulled out forms of nutrition that you can actually already provide yourself. Now you're letting the world do it for you. You're not doing it for yourself. Now you're sicker for it. And as a matter of fact, when you go that route, you are a whole lot more weaker than what you used to be. You are sicker for it. You're not creative for it. You start messing up your own body's chemistry for it. You start mutating your genetics for it because your genetics isn't made for it. And therefore, what you start passing down to your kids in the next generation, if it's not wealth and financial stability as you are supposed to, you start passing down mutation. You start passing down autism. You start passing down diabetes. You start passing down pre-adolescent cancerous cells that is dormant for the time being until that child or your offspring decides to eat and live the lifestyle that you did. Now those cells are going to be awakened thanks to you. It's not all about you and how you live in your life. It's what's going to happen 10, 20 or decades from now where you are the producer. You are the God. As I said, you are God. You're the motherboard. Not only will I not allow myself to be punked, but I won't allow you to be punked either by not getting this information. So therefore, should you be the person like, okay, slap me on this back. Okay, I'll take it. Slap me on the right cheek too. Okay. Now put a leash around my neck and tell me what to do. Tell me how far I need to go. I can do it. Okay. Oh, there's $1. Oh, let me go get it. Now you trap. Boom. Cage right in your face. You want the carrot? Too bad. Work for it. More than what you really should. If somebody cared about you somewhere in the past, if they cared about you somewhere in the past, you wouldn't have to. They just unleash the cage. Oh, you got the money to get out? Okay, here you go. All right, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, you can leave. What happened? Oh, it's paid for. Goodbye. What happened? Oh, well, this and this and that, but it's good. You're paid. From who? Oh, don't worry about it. They said, God bless you. No, it wasn't God that blessed you. They did. It trips me up. This is what trips me out. And I think I'm going to have to make another audio. And it actually is. This is part 1, okay? It's part 1. Because it's really a lot of information here. It's a lot. What trips me up is when people get themselves in a bad situation and they're pulled out of it, they'll say, oh, God saved me from it. That's the first thing they'll say. Oh, if it wasn't for the grace of, God did this. God, it was because of God. It was God did. Oh my God, I was locked up and God set me free. No, I was about to drown and God set me. I was about to, and God, I'll bleep, 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 bleep. I'm sitting like, dude, no, listen. And as a matter of fact, when the minute I hear that, I know exactly about the person. I'm like, no, that person is not on my team. We got nothing to talk about. No conversation whatsoever. Because you don't understand that you are actually initiating yourself to be the second-rate species. A second-rate species to existence when you should put yourself number 1. That it is based on the decisions that the average person have the ability to make, or there are decisions that other people decided to make for you. I didn't need to go over there and save my white friend. I could have been just as ignorant as someone else. There were so many other kids in the classroom. They're all scared because this big bully was bullying people. I could have said, no, I'm not going to do it. But I made the conscious decision to say, you know what? I'm not going to let nobody get bullied like that. I didn't have to fight back when those kids was trying to eliminate me. I could just not been here today. Forget it. Now I'm in the news. Now their parents are locked up. Should have been anyway. For allowing the kids to go that far. But you know what? I made a decision. I made a choice to save myself. And by what as well, by the inspiration of other people who do not even know me. Like the actors, the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and Bruce Lee. But they made enough inspiration, enough positive inspiration, albeit entertainment or not. There are some things that are real life situations that you need just a little bit of a kick to get in the right direction. And that's all you need. That's all you need. It's not a miracle. It's not science. And it's not God saying, here I come to save you. No, what God would do is put the tools right there in front of you and say, you do it. If you don't do it, you don't want it bad enough. You don't want to live fine. That means you don't want it bad enough. You don't want to protect your kids, or you don't want a future for your child. You don't want it bad enough. That means you don't want them not to suffer bad enough. They're going to suffer because you're going to overspend your money. You only care about yourself. You're only going to concern yourself with your nonsense behavior. The future be damned. The tools are out there for it. You know why the tools are there? It's not because some mystery being somewhere on some space shuttle that was dangling upside down on a cross. It was given to us by nature, by our organic matter, by the tools that we have that are around us. It's up to us to use it to save ourselves. Instead of sitting down on our knees crying for somebody else to pull us out of the mud. Here's your rope. Pull your own frail, narrow behind out of the mud. And when you get done, wash your mouth and your ugly face at the same time, and maybe you get somewhere. Stop crying and do something about it. Tuck your shirt in and your bottom lip and look at the future and start carving a path of success, and stop being a D-grade, lower ranged human being. There's nothing else that can be more louder and more raw and more truthful and more real than that, unless you are only opting out for the only other option that you have, and that's just to give up altogether. Leave the tool behind. Keep waiting for some sky daddy to hold your hand or your bottom lip and tell you what to do for the rest of your life on a leash. It's not about, oh, God came and saved me. No, someone else did. And there are some tools available that was available at the time to get you out of that situation that you don't know anything about because you're too busy being book taught and indoctrinated. And you're not looking out in science book. You're not going to the dictionary, or you're not going to the library to read from facts. Too busy being emotionally misled on purpose so somebody else can make a dollar bill from you. So somebody else can go get a Ferrari and leave it in their garage for like a year and never drive it off of your hard-earned labor, because you don't want to spend that hard-earned labor to allow yourself to be in a fortunate life and your kids to be in a fortunate life. You rather for them to be in an unfortunate life and struggle for the rest of their life, hoping and praying for something that has never happened and will never happen. Until you do something and participate in your own salvation and rescue, you will not be rescued. Those tools and everything that you have is going to be sitting right there in the middle of the floor, and you ain't going nowhere. And all you're going to have, if you go somewhere, is because somebody feels sorry for you. If you succeed, it's because somebody feels sorry for you. Sitting there asking for somebody to do something for you. Oh, I wonder who's going to be the president so I can be saved out of my hood mentality. I'm going to wait for somebody I'm going to wait for them to pass the law that's going to balance and make everything fair. When nobody's telling you that you can't leave the house and make something happen out of yourself. Nobody's telling you that you can't go to a grocery store. Nobody's telling you you can't go out there and cut some and get an acre, own a business. Make a business, own a warehouse, make a warehouse, make some clothes, make some shoes, sell some hats. Nobody telling you to do nothing like that but you and your crab in the barrel society. Because hurt people hurt people. You understand? Misery loves company, and sometimes we are miserable and we love chaos. So therefore we stay in it because we don't want to be better than where we are. So therefore we want to blame everybody else. We want to blame God, and we want to blame our laziness because we don't want to get up and use the tools that's right there in the middle of the floor that nature have gave us. You want to know what we do? We fight against nature. We throw our back against nature. We hate nature because we want to put computers in front of us first and avoid nature. Therefore, it's going to persistently and constantly put us in a low range life mindset. And as a matter of fact, if you want to look at it technically like that, it means being a low life. Living a low life, and therefore our children and our children's children have to suffer being low lives because you decided not to make a foundation. And the first thing these so-called selfish people say, well, you need to work hard too. I made it in struggle. I worked hard, so you're gonna have to work hard too. Well, let me tell you something, moron. Let me tell you something. I stand by King Arthur. I stand by Camelot. And he said something again that put nothing but power underneath the belt. Here we go, of my Arnold Schwarzenegger savage and the 89-year-old wise man. Now I'm tacking onto my belt as well. Even more fodder for me. Even more of a reason to help me be the best that I can be. He said this. He said, God makes us strong so we can help those who are weak. And most times the reason why people are weak, because they don't have knowledge. Knowledge is a form of knowing. How come they don't know is because it's not being delivered. That's the value of this audio and every other audio that I make for you. And that knowledge is being distorted by misinformation, by emotional systems, and the number one thing that you all comprehend as well, and you're going to get the gist of it even further still as we continue in our ignorance. It's called distraction.